Thank you. Next back to our panel, Mark Hamer, question?
I believe it's Angie's question to field first. There's a national debate regarding the role of government and its influence over commerce and the need to reduce spending and regulation. How do you view the role of Suffolk County government in this context?
Well, I think I've touched on it a number of times already. But the role of Suffolk County government in commerce, in the business sector, is too much. Too much when it doesn't need to be, and too little when it should be. Too much when we're putting in all kinds of regulations. I spoke with a gentleman who had worked in the health department, worked very closely with all of those kinds of regulations, retired 10 years ago, and now works as an expediter, helping people get projects through, helping people through that maze. And I said to him, gee, you're just the person I want to talk to. How can we do things better in the county? You're seeing it from when you were there and now. What do you think? He said, Angie, I can't begin to tell you how many new rules and regulations have been promulgated since I left. And that's part of my economic plan for Suffolk County, looking at all of these rules and regulations, doing them with a sunset. Before you put a rule in, let's make sure it's really practical. Let's make sure it's really enforceable. Let's make sure it's really helping business grow, business stay here, and attracting and encouraging new businesses to come here. That is what we have to do. It may sound simple, ladies and gentlemen, and it is simple. It's getting government out of the way, getting government out of your pocket, making government help. And we can do it, and we will do it if we have the right person with the right experience sitting in the seat of the county executive.
Supervisor Bellone?
I will reform county government, and I will start with the agencies of county government that deal directly with economic development. On day one, I will deliver a speech to the health department. I have dealt directly with the health department as a town supervisor. I've dealt with civic organizations and not-for-profits that have worked with the health department, and I've spoken to business leaders. We've all had the same story. It is not working, and that speech on day one will contain something like this. No longer will we stop projects or stall projects, good projects that will help create jobs and grow our economy. From this day forward, we will have a culture where economic development is part of our mission in the health department, and we will take these projects by the hand and we will say, how can we help make them happen? In addition to that, I'm concerned, I saw in the paper this morning, we haven't seen the details about the budget, but that many of the cuts will come in the health department. This is an agency that is critical for economic development. It's something that we need to watch. I will also appoint a deputy county executive in place of the current deputy county executive for public information. That position will be eliminated, and in its place I will appoint a deputy county executive for economic development. I think that focusing on economic development is way more important than focusing on press releases. That person will oversee directly all of the agencies of county government that impact economic development, and he or she will report directly to me, and we'll begin the process on day one of reforming those agencies. Thank you.
Molly Rivera?
Treasurer, Steve Levy has been praised by some for his conservative fiscal policies. He's been criticized by others for his social policies, including his policies towards immigrants and Latinos. What has he done right? What has he done wrong? And what would you do differently?
Well, clearly, I'm not running against Steve Levy. Any new county executive coming in is going to look at everything that's there, take what's good, keep it, take what's bad, and throw it out. But clearly from day one, I'm not going to be standing up making speeches. What I'm going to be doing from day one is working with the people, working with the county workers, finding out from them how we can make things better. Again, I said it earlier, I don't have all the answers. They are out there. It just takes someone who knows from the inside what's going on, who knows clearly from having been in Suffolk County government, the complexities of Suffolk County government, and making sure that you empower the people that are there to do the best possible job they can. And clearly, they want to do it. Do you think the people that report to the health department every day want to get beat up over the head by developers standing there saying, where's my plan, stamp my plan, I've got financing pending, I need this project to get off the ground now? But if they've got empty desks sitting there, they don't have the appropriate people in place, they can't do it. They go home feeling beat up. And it's not the way it needs to be, it's not the way it should be, and it certainly, clearly, is not the way it's going to be when I'm the county executive.
Supervisor Bellone, and actually Mona's question was similar to the email we just got. What does Steve Levy gotten right? What does Steve Levy gotten wrong?
Well, I clearly have said that in terms of freezing the general fund property tax, I agree with him on that. With respect to the immigration issue, we couldn't disagree more. Immigration is a very important issue. And it is another example of how Washington has failed our country and has failed our region as a whole. But what you will not see from me as county executive is the kind of overheated rhetoric that has been used in a way that divides communities and is harmful to people. And I'm not even just talking about the undocumented. It's harmful to a whole swath of our community, American citizens. That is not what we are about. It's not what we should be doing. We should be focused, and this is what I will focus law enforcement on, the issues that are truly affecting us that we control. In the last 8 years, while we've seen this overheated rhetoric, we've had a prescription drug and heroin epidemic sweep through this county. We've had gangs in the form of criminal organizations take control in communities and in our downtowns. And at that same time, we've had law enforcement through this administration divided against one another. We've had law enforcement used as a political football. My father was a police officer and a corrections officer. Law enforcement, the men and women who put on the uniform every day and go out and risk their lives to make our community safe, should never be used as a political football. And that will end on day one when I'm county executive.
Really weak applause throughout the program so far. If you like what Treasurer Carpenter has to say, let him know. If you like what Supervisor Bellone has to say, let him know. And none of this little, either do it or don't. Okay, another question, actually consistent with another email we're getting. I hope you guys like this way of trying to ask some questions. There are a lot of regionally significant projects that have been proposed in our region, specifically in Suffolk County, including the redevelopment of Pilgrim State, the Heartland Project, the Ronkonkoma Hub, Kings Park Hospital. Treasurer Carpenter, do you support those efforts to redevelop those properties?
Clearly, it would be counterproductive or contrary to everything I've been saying this morning. We need to have projects like this that the private sector is willing to step up to the plate and do. And we in government have to be there to partner and help. The Heartland Project, 10 years. They're trying to get that off the ground. Kings Park, they still haven't decided what they want to do. We have got to jumpstart this. And jumpstarting is beyond when he's been doing this 10 years. When we have issues like affordable housing, workforce housing, and we have a developer who's willing to come in and do a project like is being done in Cortlandt Square in downtown Bayshore, on a vacant parcel that was vacant for 20 years with no issues, with a community that totally embraced and supported the project. It took the developer 5 years to put the shovel in the ground. That is totally, totally unacceptable. And this is what we have to do. when we are in government. We have to get out of the way. We have to be there to help. We have to have someone that's there in the permitting department, and I am putting a person in place, an expediter, an ombudsman, whatever you want to call it. It will be someone from within. It will be someone who knows the system, but it will be someone that's there to say, Mr. Developer, what is it you need? Come right in. Let us help you. We shouldn't have the department. You see, I understand that. I understand that from having been there. When you have 40 units of affordable housing that are going to go online, maybe it shouldn't have taken, it shouldn't have taken 5 years. And ideally, the guy would have liked his permit in a month. But let's say we gave it to him in a year. Let's say it took a year, which is still too long, but still better than 5. We would have had 4 years of 40 units generating property tax, 40 units of family, shopping and working in the downtown, going to the restaurants, using, the train that's right there. It is a perfect spot. This is an incredibly wonderful project. A great place for young people to be, the train into Manhattan, a ferry over to Fire Island, great restaurants and shops in the downtown area, but they had to wait, and they wanted that. That has got to stop. And that will make our economy grow, because clearly that is the answer. And I know that no one wants to raise property taxes, and we could double the property tax in Suffolk County, not that I'm suggesting that, but the general fund property tax generates $49 million out of a $2.7 billion budget. So clearly, that's not the answer. The answer is growing the private sector, growing what you do, having us help you do it.
In my 10 years as town supervisor, I have seen literally a dozen projects of regional significance announced with great fanfare and big, beautiful color renderings. None of those projects have been approved, let alone built. In fact, the only major project of regional significance that was put forward that was approved and built was the Tanger project in the town of Bellone. I have moved projects forward. It is very difficult, as you know. There are 1,000 obstacles in your way in developing in Long Island. But what you need to make it happen is leadership in government that understands that it is not acceptable not to grow the economy. Leadership that will go out to the community, as I have, and speak to civic organizations when we have a good project and say that we need to move this forward. I will provide that leadership as county executive. In the Hamlet of Wyandanch, we are this close to having a deal with a developer to invest in just the first phase over $100 million in the most economically distressed community on Long Island in the aftermath of the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. If we can make a project like that happen in Wyandanch, we can make growth happen anywhere in Suffolk County. And I look forward at Kings Park. My fear in Kings Park is that 20 years later, those buildings will still be there. So I'm looking forward to working with Mike Fitzpatrick and Senator Flanagan and Supervisor Vecchio to help move that forward, and ISIP, Supervisor Nolan, to help move forward the Heartland project. Any project that will help the county meet these big regional challenges we face to keep young people here, to diversify our housing stock, the county should be there to help make it happen, and I will do that as county executive.
Both of you have alluded to some of our law enforcement challenges, whether it's the heroin epidemic, increasing crime in certain categories. Commissioner Dormer has announced his intentions to leave by the end of the year. One of your first big challenges will be to replace and find a Suffolk County Police Commissioner. Treasurer Carpenter, what type of person you're looking to hire to run one of the finest police departments in our country?
It is one of the finest police departments, and it has had its hands tied It has been forced to not do what it should be doing. When we look at a community like Huntington Station, and we were forced to close an elementary school,